the most tremendous new musical experience you can have.
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's Logan, and I'm here a little bit later than I planned to be. So I said I was going to get this review out on Friday of last week. It is now Tuesday of the following week. Got a little busy this weekend, let's just say that. Or, lazy, whichever way you want to look at it. Either way, this is my review to indie artist, Twitter famous, met him through hip-hop Twitter, of course, Lil Brick, intro EP. Now, Lil Brick is someone that I reviewed a while ago. Really enjoyed his first ever mixtape EP, Road to Ouroboros. That was really short. I think it was like 11, 12 minutes. My video ended up being 15 minutes. I'm going to try not to repeat that type of energy on here, although, looking at my script, it's pretty long. This one clocks in at 6 tracks and 16 minutes, so if I go over that, I'm looking at 20 minutes, and I'm not trying to be here that long. Regardless, this one is much more personal than RTO. That's what I'm going to call Road to Ouroboros, just call it RTO, just because I don't feel like saying that word all the time, this entire video. And going back to RTO, my only complaint on that one really was that he wasn't on it enough. It was a really short project already, but it was so built up with features. Like the first track was 2/3 a different artist. The next track, again, about half of it. The next track was a cypher, so he was barely on that one. And the last track was about a minute and a half long, or a minute long, and it was a freestyle. So he was on it for less than half of the project, I'd say. So it didn't feel like he was the main focus of it. Lil Brick, of course, I'm speaking of. Regardless of that, every single artist brought their best on that project. But my main hope for his next project, and this is something that we talked about personally, was that he would feature himself a little bit more on his own project, of course. And he did that going into this one. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the pros. So first off, it's very personal. Like I said, he features himself a lot more. But not only that, he bears his soul on a lot of this EP. Like, he's talking about very personal stuff, talking about a lot of stuff that affects him, a lot of stuff that defines who he is, I guess. Again, just like with the last one, has a very unique sound. I love his voice. I love the way he uses it. Has a good flow. Very good production considering he's just an up-and-coming artist. Of course, he does have connections. I have recently found that out. He does have connections. I'm not going to talk about how. I'll let y'all follow him on Twitter to find out that information, but I do know he has connections specifically with Young Money. Remember that. And again, great writing and lyricism. That's always really impressive to me whenever a younger artist still follows that trend. Because a lot of people who reach out to me, they're just dropping like generic trap projects with horrible lyricism. You don't see many of those reviews. You don't. I just don't put them out. But no, with him, yeah, he comes through with a lot of great lyricism, a lot of great personal content now. Great sounds, great production. It's all very impressive for someone who's just getting started like this. At least just getting started in the sense that I just heard of him, and I don't hear my friends talking about, oh, you hear that new Lil Brick? That's an up and coming SoundCloud rapper is what I guess I'm saying, even though he does have stuff on Spotify. The cons. It could have been longer if I'm totally honest. I'm never going to complain about a project that's short. I'm not going to say that's specifically a bad thing. However, I could have sat here for 30 minutes listening to an EP like this. Maybe that might be a little bit too far, but at least, 20, 25 minutes. 16 is really short, but he packs it full of all this information, all this lyricism, everything that he has to say that I could have taken more. Not saying it needed to be more, not saying that draws back from what this is. It does not make me lower my rating by any means. I'm just saying it could have afforded to be longer if he wanted it to be. So, next time you're making an album, if you ever consider making a full-length album, I'm here for it. Many people are moving away from that. Only certain artists can actually entertain you for 30 plus minutes. A Kendrick Lamar, a Drake, a Kanye, blah blah blah. And even Kanye is scaling back his the length of his projects. But I could see you hold my attention for that long, Lil Brick. So just consider it. Not saying you should. Again, this was really freaking good at only 6 tracks, 16 minutes, and I have no complaints about that. My only other actual complaint, I guess, because that one was just like it could have done it's not really a complaint. My other actual complaint is that sometimes the flows can get a little chunky, especially early on, like early in the song scene 1. There's just moments where it feels like the words are blending together a little bit too much when you try to go a little bit too fast, and it kind of mixes up. That does not happen often, and generally speaking, whenever he tries doing that, it ends up sounding really good. There were just a couple small moments where I noticed that. Again, not a huge complaint, just if I'm trying to nitpick and find certain things, that is something that was there that could be a drawback. So I wanted to mention that. Now going track by track, because again, there's only 6 tracks. I'm going to speak a little bit on all of them. Scene 1 being the first track. By far, I'm not going to say by far, because I loved all the tracks on here for the most part. But this is my favorite song on this EP. Very personal. You can tell by the end of this one, he's even tearing up, bearing his soul. This is by far the most personal track on here. And again, why I said I could tell right away this is a far cry from what RTO was. I feel like RTO was an intro to the artist, whereas the intro EP is an intro to the person. Definitely endears you to him as a person. He talks about how he was treated younger, talks about how he's treated now, emotions, stuff like that. Really good flows. Again, at times it gets a little chunky on this song, like I mentioned earlier, but for the most part, really good flows, really good bars all together, and just very personal. And this definitely introduces his ability to storytell, as you'll see throughout this project. Now next comes Studio 22, which features a solid feature on the first verse. It did not name who the artist was on there. I don't know if it's an artist that was on RTO or someone in his crew that I have heard before, because I do have a review for someone that is friends with Little Brick, or at least that's what they said. They've worked together before. It didn't say, and I'm not that deep into their crew to be able to tell you who it was, but regardless, it was a solid verse with flow and sound that contrasts well with Brick, as this artist has a more melodic and smooth sound, while Brick has more of a slightly higher pitch sound, one that I enjoy greatly. Talk about Brick here. So they work well together, and this song sees a more melodic and easygoing beat that allows these artists to just ease you into some deep content about how dark the world can be. And again, another solid track. After that comes Cold Shoulder. Another soft beat that allows him to show off his flow and allows him to show off some clever bars. I love specifically the line. This is a short song, so I don't have much to say about it, but I love specifically, and this is all I'm really going to point out, the line where he says, "Like the Clippers, you were up, now it's series over." Thought that was hilarious because, of course, they were up 3-1 and blew a 3-1 lead when they should have made it to the conference finals. Should have been the clash, the Battle of LA, in which the Clippers could have beaten the Lakers. Not saying they would have, because obviously, congrats to the Lakers. Screw them. Sorry, my Boston fans showing. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. Let's just not even touch on that topic. After that, we have Be Here, a very soft song with a good hook by a female singer. Again, not names mentioned, no featured list on the track list here. But she sets the mood for a more personal track that allows for some solid introspection. Again, a more personal track. Again, a slower track, more here's who I am. Again, contrasts well with RTO. I feel like if you listen to these two together, like back to back, they are completely opposite projects. I would pick this one to be the better one, but just the way the contrast is perfect. Again, intro to the artist, intro to the person. I love that. I love how people do that sometimes. And then, let's see. We have All Black after that. All Black might be my least favorite track on here. It's really slow, and that allows Brick to sing a bit. When I say a bit, I mean basically the entire track. With his sound, it is fun to hear. It's different to hear compared to his rapping, and it adds up a bit of an emotional vibe to this track. Again, a lot of this EP is emotional, but this one more so than a lot of the tracks, just because of the singing, the way he sounds like he's straining his voice to get every bit of emotion out. However, of all the tracks, I find the most issue with this one just because of how robotic or overproduced his voice comes off at times with the singing. I understand. I'm not saying I personally have never really heard him sing that much before, so I don't know if he actually has a naturally good singing voice or not. But at times that can detract from the emotion you're going for. And on a track like this, you want the most emotion to come out. And you were still getting that, but just the overproduction of the voice does kind of detract from that a bit. Now, I'm not saying it's an overall terrible track. It's not. It's still a solid track. Just definitely my least favorite. I prefer his rapping regardless. So even if it was not overproduced, even if it was done perfectly, this still probably would have come off being my least favorite track of all of them. Although again, it pushes the story and the vibe forward with this EP. And I'm not saying it should have been taken off by any means. This is a track that still needed to be here. It's just out of 6 tracks, one of them has to be the worst one to somebody. That's just where this one falls for me. Again, prefer his rapping to his singing, but just if there had been less production on it, again, I don't know that he has a good singing voice or not, but again, at times it just sounds a little bit robotic, a little bit like there could have been more oomph to it with the emotional factor. The final track, Over and Over. Really solid, old school sounding track that works as a great bookend to a solid EP. Very introspective at times as he bears his soul, while also allowing for some solid personal storytelling. Again, something that I enjoy a lot from younger artists, because storytelling is one of the harder things to do on a song. It's hard to keep it engaging, but then also have good one-liners and then also have good flows. So storytelling is something that's really underrated in rap, I think, and whenever someone does it effectively, it should be appreciated more. So especially for someone as up and coming as Lil Brick, to already have that as part of his repertoire, I think that's really impressive. And I just want to shout you out for that one, man. I mean, really impressive. And overall, in conclusion, I thought this EP was everything that RTO wasn't. Again, RTO I thought was great. I think I gave that like a 7.5 or 8. I usually don't really do ratings for these indie reviews, but regardless, if I'm going to give a rating to RTO, I would say it was something like that. This one, on the other hand, even better, takes what you missed on that one and brings it forward. Again, my main complaint was the clunky flows at times. The singing could have been a little bit better or more emotional, I'll say, on All Black. And then honestly, I could have taken a longer album length, like 25-30 minutes, just so that way you can place in a couple of tracks to break up the emotional factor. However, if you're going to do a fully emotional EP or album, this length is perfect. I don't want a 30-minute album plus of just introspection. You need to break that up with some more hype tracks. Is there a world where RTO was mixed into this one to break up a little bit of this and it's a longer album? Yes, then I think that's a successful project. However, I like the theory of a very short, just introspective, this is all me, all personal, all emotional EP. It's similar to how Hovey's Broken Heart is one of my favorite EPs of the year. Aha Gazelle's 180. Again, and both of those are like 20 minutes or under. So I think this works very well. And I look forward to hearing what else he has coming. Honestly, if I had to give a rating to this, I'm feeling somewhere in that 8 to 8.5 range. I could go as high as 9 if the more obvious issues weren't there. Again, by more obvious, I'm referring to what I've already mentioned. I'm not saying they're extremely they don't appear in the forefront. I had to do a little bit of digging for them, but regardless, yes, really freaking good. I'm really impressed. I look forward to hearing more. Looking at the timestamp, I am actually coming very, very, very close to the same length of this EP. So if you can sit through this review, you can sit through this EP, and I promise you'll probably find the EP way more enjoyable than the review. Although I hope you find the review enjoyable too. That being said, that's all I got for y'all. Unfortunately, I don't have the artwork for this EP. And I currently am not able to share the link with y'all because it hasn't been released. It does not come out until this Friday. Make sure y'all check that out. I'll make sure the link is in the description whenever that happens. For now, I will put a link to his SoundCloud profile, so at least that way you can get to it. If I'm not able to get a link up, you can get to his profile on Friday and check it out then. I appreciate y'all watching this review. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, sub, hit the bell next to my name for notifications. Hit me up in my email if you want your EP reviewed. I might just do a quick email and tell you what I thought about it. I might get a video out if I thought it is deep enough and good enough, or worth talking about at the very least. I appreciate y'all, and I will hit y'all up next time.